I'm Lauren Michelle Hayes, 27 years old, and for most of my life, I learned how to exist quietly inside my own family. Not because I was shy, but because silence was safer. My younger brother, Ethan, was the miracle child, the one my parents, Diane and Robert Hayes, bragged about to anyone who'd listen in our small town outside Springfield, Missouri. Growing up, our house looked perfect from the outside. White siding, trimmed hedges, church every Sunday. My mom ran bake sales. My dad coached Little League. Neighbors used words like wholesome and lucky, but inside those walls, I was invisible unless something went wrong, and somehow, it was always my fault. Ethan could forget homework? He's overwhelmed. I forgot once? You're irresponsible, Lauren. When Ethan broke a window playing baseball, my dad laughed it off. When I accidentally spilled juice on the carpet at 10 years old, my mom didn't speak to me for 2 days. I learned early that love in our house wasn't unconditional. It was earned, and I never seemed to earn enough. I tried everything. Straight A's, student council, part-time jobs to pay my own way so I wouldn't be a burden. When I got into a state university, my parents barely noticed. When Ethan announced he wanted to study business, my mom cried happy tears and threw a dinner party. After college, I stayed close. Too close. I moved back home temporarily to help while Ethan finished school. Temporary turned into 3 years. I paid rent, covered groceries, drove my mom to appointments. My dad liked to remind me, family sticks together. Don't be selfish. The irony? Ethan moved out the second he landed an internship. The breaking point came the week before Ethan's engagement. Party and event my parents insisted had to be perfect. I handled the planning, decorations, catering, invitations. I even used my savings to upgrade the venue, and my mom said the original one was embarrassing. The night before the party, I realized a box of custom centerpieces was still in my car, not unloaded yet. One box, easily fixable. I mentioned it casually. My mother's face hardened. My father stood up slowly. You ruin everything, my mom said flatly. My dad followed with the sentence that finally broke something in me. Honestly, Lauren, Ethan's life would be easier if you just weren't around anymore. Not dead, just erased. I nodded, didn't cry, didn't argue. I went to my room, packed a bag, and left before sunrise. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd been keeping receipts. And once I disappeared, the story they told about me was about to collapse. I didn't slam the door when I left that morning. I closed it quietly, almost respectfully, like I was afraid of waking a house that had never really seen me awake anyway. My car was already packed, just a duffel bag, my laptop, a folder of documents, and a box I'd hidden in the back of my closet for years. That box wasn't sentimental. It was practical. Inside were bank statements, loan agreements, screenshots, and emails, proof of every temporary favor that somehow became my responsibility. Rent transfers my parents called helping out. Medical bills I paid when my mom said, "We'll pay you back next month." Credit card statements where my name was used. Just once. For emergencies. Emergencies that never seemed to end. I drove west toward Tulsa, Oklahoma, my phone buzzing nonstop on the passenger seat. Missed calls, voicemails, texts stacking up like demands. Where are you? Stop being dramatic. You're embarrassing us. I turned the phone off. By noon, I was sitting in a cheap motel room with stained curtains and a broken ice machine, but for the first time in my life, the air felt lighter. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank accounts. The joint accounts. The ones my parents insisted were for family. Every dollar in them had come from me. Over the years, I'd been guilted into contributing more and more. You live here. It's only fair. Ethan needs help right now. We're all making sacrifices. Meanwhile, my parents took vacations, paid Ethan's rent, bought him a car. I didn't drain the accounts. I froze them. Within an hour, my mom noticed. Her voicemail was shrill now, panicked. Lauren, what did you do? The card isn't working. My dad followed, his voice sharp and controlled. You had no right. That money isn't just yours, but it was legally documented, traceable. That afternoon, I met with a lawyer I'd researched months earlier just in case. I slid the folder across the desk. He didn't look surprised. He just nodded slowly. "You've been financially supporting them," he said, "and they've been relying on you without accountability. Freezing the accounts was smart." For the first time, someone said it plainly. Not selfish, not dramatic, smart. By evening, the story back home had already changed. I saw it on social media from a burner account I still checked. "Pray for our family. Our daughter abandoned us during an important time." Abandoned. They didn't mention the years I stayed. The money. The silence. The way my father told me I shouldn't exist in their lives. I checked into a long-term rental under my middle name. I emailed my job and requested remote work. I blocked my parents' numbers. That night, lying on unfamiliar sheets, I realized something chilling. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. And when they realized I wasn't coming back, they didn't try to apologize. They tried to destroy my reputation instead. I thought leaving would bring silence, distance, maybe even relief. What I didn't expect was war. 3 days after I froze the accounts, my burner phone lit up with notifications from a Springfield community Facebook group I'd muted years ago. A friend sent me screenshots with one line attached. "You need to see this." My mother had posted first. A long emotional paragraph about betrayal, about how she and my father were blindsided when their daughter disappeared days before Ethan's engagement celebration. She claimed I had stolen family funds and left them unable to pay bills. She ended it with, "We raised her better than this." The comments were brutal. She always seemed off. "Ungrateful kids these days. Family is everything. Shame on her." My father joined in later, cooler, more calculated. "We trusted Lauren. She took advantage of us. Legal action is being considered." That one made my stomach drop. By the next morning, the lie had spread beyond Facebook. A local gossip blog picked it up. Then a small-town radio host mentioned it vaguely during a morning segment. A warning about family betrayal. No names. But everyone knew. I hadn't said a word. And somehow I was the villain in a story they'd rewritten overnight. I called my lawyer immediately. He was calm in a way that grounded me. "Let them talk," he said. "Every accusation they make creates a paper trail. Truth doesn't need to shout." Still, it hurt. Not because strangers believed them, but because my parents were willing to burn me publicly rather than admit the truth privately. Then something unexpected happened. One comment appeared under my mom's post from Marilyn Cooper, a woman who'd worked with her for years. "Diane, didn't Lauren pay for your medical bills last year? I remember you thanking her at church." The comment disappeared within minutes. Another came from a former neighbor. "Didn't Lauren help cover Ethan's rent when he moved out?" Deleted. They were scrubbing the narrative, erasing anything that didn't fit the victim's story. That's when I realized I didn't need to defend myself. The cracks were already showing. 2 days later, my lawyer forwarded me an email. My parents had attempted to access the frozen accounts again, this time claiming it was for emergency repairs. No invoices, no documentation. Denied. They were unraveling. Ethan finally reached out. One message. "Why are you doing this? Mom's crying nonstop. You could have just talked to us." I stared at the screen for a long time. Talk to them. About what? About being told I shouldn't exist in their lives? About funding a family that resented me? I didn't reply. That night, alone in my rental, I cried for the first time since leaving. Not because I missed them, but because I finally saw them clearly. They didn't want a daughter. They wanted a scapegoat. And without me there to absorb the blame, the dysfunction had nowhere to go but outward. I didn't mean to uncover it. That's the thing. I wasn't digging for revenge. I was just trying to stay afloat. A week after the town turned on me, my lawyer called with a tone I hadn't heard before, tight, careful. "Lauren, I need to ask you something," he said. "Did you ever co-sign anything for your parents besides the joint accounts?" My stomach dropped. There was one thing, one favor I'd agreed to years ago after my dad sat me down at the kitchen table, voice heavy with concern. "Just a formality," he'd said. "Short-term business loan. Our credit's tied up, but yours is clean. We'll handle everything." I'd hesitated. My mom squeezed my hand. "Family helps family." I signed. My lawyer explained what he'd found. While reviewing the frozen accounts, a creditor had contacted his office confused. Payments had stopped. Interest was compounding. The loan wasn't short-term. It was massive. Over $180,000. My parents' accounting firm, the one everyone in town respected, had been bleeding money for years. Bad investments, quiet settlements, loans taken out to cover other loans. And when things got tight, they used my credit to keep the whole thing from collapsing. They hadn't told Ethan. They hadn't told anyone. They'd told me just enough to make me legally responsible. The reason they panicked when I left wasn't emotional. It was financial. The next few days were chaos back in Springfield. I watched from a distance as the story shifted again. The bank filed a notice. The firm's reputation started to crack. Clients pulled out. Rumors spread fast in a town that thrived on appearances. My mother's posts stopped. My father went silent. Then Ethan called. Not texted. Called. His voice was shaking. Why didn't you tell me? I swallowed. Tell you what? The loan. The firm. The debt. Mom and Dad said you knew. I laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because it was devastating. I knew enough to keep them afloat, I said. Not enough to save them. There was a long pause. Then, quietly, they told me you ran because you were jealous. That you stole from them. That's when I felt it. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Relief. The truth was finally standing on its own. I didn't expose them. I didn't post receipts. I didn't say a word publicly. All I did was stop covering for them. The town that once blamed me started asking questions my parents couldn't answer. And without me there to clean up the mess, the illusion of the perfect family began to crumble. For the first time, they had to face consequences. And for the first time, I wasn't the one paying the price. The final confrontation didn't happen face to face. It happened the way everything in my family always had, through guilt-soaked messages sent when they finally ran out of control. 2 weeks after the loan surfaced, an email from my father appeared in my inbox. No anger this time. No accusations. Just panic wrapped in authority. Lauren, we need to talk. The firm is struggling. If you come home, we can explain everything. Family doesn't walk away when things get hard. I stared at the screen, waiting for the familiar tug of responsibility. It never came. An hour later, my mother tried a different tactic. I'm not well. The stress has made everything worse. I never meant what I said. You know how emotional I get. Please come back. We can fix this together. Together. The word that had kept me trapped for years. I typed one response. 3 sentences. That was all they got. I didn't leave when things got hard. I left when I was told I didn't belong. Please direct all financial communication to my attorney. Then I blocked them. The fallout in Springfield was swift. Their accounting firm closed within a month. Clients walked. The loan default became public record. The same neighbors, who'd called me ungrateful, now whispered about Diane and Robert Hayes. My parents didn't apologize publicly. They blamed the economy, stress, bad timing, anything but themselves. Ethan reached out one last time. His message was short. I didn't know. I should have spoken up. I'm sorry. I believed him, but believing didn't mean returning. I stayed in Tulsa longer than planned. Took on freelance work. Rented a small apartment with mismatched furniture and windows that let in too much light. For the first time, I built a life that didn't revolve around fixing someone else's mess. I slept better. I laughed louder. I stopped apologizing for existing. Sometimes guilt still whispered at night, but I reminded myself of the truth. They didn't lose me because I disappeared. They lost me because they tried to erase me first. Disappearing wasn't revenge. It was self-respect. And in the silence that followed, I finally heard my own voice. If you've ever been the family scapegoat, the one who holds everything together while being blamed for the cracks, know this. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. Sometimes it makes you free.